Welcome. I am the Body Whisperer, and I am glad you are here in the dark, in the quiet, with the weight of the day finally setting down around you. Tonight we go gently inside, past skin and breath, and the soft hum of everything working, to meet Heart Harvey. He has been beating since before you took your first breath. He has not stopped once. And now, as sleep begins to arrive, he finally gets to do the quietest version of his work. The calming part of the nervous system takes the wheel, the pace softens, the pauses between beats grow long and easy. That is what this night is for. So let the body settle now. Find whatever position feels right and let it hold you. Let the limbs grow a little heavier. Take one slow breath in and let it go. And another, easy this time. Let the eyes close when they are ready. There is nothing to follow, nothing to solve. Something quiet is already happening inside you. The heart is listening, and so are we. Right now, without being asked, without a reminder, without a single moment of rest since before you drew your first breath, a fist-sized muscle in the center of your chest is beating. It has always been beating. It will be beating while you sleep. And here is the quiet miracle of that. The beat is not the same as it was an hour ago. It is already changing. Deep in the chest, nestled between the lungs and tilted very slightly to the left, sits the heart. It is smaller than most people imagine, roughly the size of a closed hand, and heavier than it looks, dense with the kind of muscle that does not know how to stop. It is not soft tissue. It is not a delicate flower. It is a pump of extraordinary persistence, the one organ in the body that has been working continuously since it first flickered into rhythm, weeks before anything else was ready. His name in the quiet language of this night is Harvey. Harvey is crimson red, smooth at the surface, rounded at the top where two small arms rest at his sides, and he tapers to a blunt point at the bottom. He has wide, patient eyes and a grin that has never quite left his face, not because the work is easy, but because Harvey has made a kind of peace with the fact that it is never finished. He is the most stoic employee in the body. He has never missed a beat, not once, not in all the years the body has been running. What he does, in the simplest terms, is move blood. He squeezes, and blood goes out, carrying oxygen, carrying warmth, carrying the body's quiet signals to every far corner. He relaxes, and blood flows back in. Then he squeezes again. That is the whole job, performed somewhere around 100,000 times in a single day, not as a precise measurement, but as an honest sense of the scale. 100,000 times, without complaint, without a break, without anyone saying thank you. Boom, and then something happens as the night comes in. something the body has been quietly preparing for since the light began to fade. The heart is not a metronome. It does not keep a fixed, rigid beat the way a clock keeps time. All day long, Harvey listens. He takes his cues from the nervous system, adjusting his pace to whatever the body needs. Climbing stairs, he quickens. Settling into a chair after a long afternoon, he eases. Feeling a jolt of surprise, he surges. Hearing a familiar voice, he softens. He is less like a drum machine and more like a good driver, always reading the road, always making small corrections. That responsiveness, that willingness to speed and slow and adjust in the space between one beat and the next, is itself a sign of something good. A heart that can vary its timing, that does not lock itself into a rigid, unchanging rhythm, is a heart that is listening well. The nervous system speaks, and Harvey answers. The conversation never stops. But the nervous system has two modes. There is the waking mode, the one that speeds things up, raises the guard, sharpens the focus. And there is the calming mode, the one that says, the day is done, the road is clear, ease off. As sleep deepens, the calming side begins to take the wheel. Slowly, then more completely, it sends its steadying signal down through the body. And Harvey, for the first time in hours, is allowed to slow. This is the one true thing this whole long night will sit with and turn over quietly from every side. The heart, through the deepest hours of sleep, does something it cannot do at any other time of day. It runs gentle. The pace drops below its daytime hum. The pauses between beats grow a little longer, a little more supple. The squeeze that was working hard all afternoon becomes, for a few precious hours, a quieter effort. Not the heart failing. Not the heart resting in the way, a muscle that can rest rests. But the heart, the one muscle that truly cannot stop, being given the softest version of its work. The lowest gear, the idling engine. Harvey knows this. He has known it every night of his long, unbroken career. He cannot fully stop. He will not, but he can coast. And in the coasting, something happens that the daytime never quite allows. A kind of recovery, a settling, the slow accumulation of ease that a body carries forward into morning. A poor night keeps Harvey running warm when he should be coasting. A good night, a deep one, an uninterrupted one, is the one stretch of every 24 hours when the tireless muscle is treated tenderly. And Harvey, stoic as he is, receives that tenderness with the dignity of someone who has absolutely earned it. So let the breath slow now. Let the weight of the arms and the legs settle into wherever they are resting. The room is dark or close to it. The sounds of the day have pulled back. And somewhere in the center of the chest, a deep crimson muscle is already adjusting, already reading the night, already beginning to ease. Harvey is listening. The night is his. Let the eye stay closed. Let the face go soft. There is nothing left to look at and nothing left to decide. There is something most people carry with them their whole lives without ever knowing its name. They feel it in the chest, that steady thump, reliable as a kitchen clock, and they assume it is fixed. Set a drumbeat held at one tempo forever. That assumption is understandable. It is also quietly wrong. Harvey does not beat in a perfectly even rhythm. He never has. The gaps between his beats, those tiny silences between one thump and the next, they shift. They widen and narrow. Not randomly, not erratically, but in response. Always in response. A thought crosses the mind, and the gap shortens by a hair. The breath draws in, and it lengthens a little. The gap breathes too, in its own way, following a kind of invisible tide that runs through the whole body. This shifting, this natural, ongoing variation in the time between heartbeats has a name. It is called heart rate variability. The plain meaning is exactly what it sounds like. The heart's rate varies. Beat to beat, the timing is never quite the same twice. And that variation is not a flaw. It is a sign of a system that is alert and supple and well-tuned, listening to everything the body tells it. Think of a driver on a familiar road. A rigid driver holds the wheel at exactly one angle, never adjusting, and eventually runs off the edge. A good driver makes 1,000 small corrections, none of them dramatic, most of them invisible, and arrives exactly where they meant to go. Harvey is the good driver. The variability is the small, constant adjusting. It means the wheel is being held. All day, that variability is shaped by two competing voices. One belongs to the body's alert half, the system that raises the pulse for effort, sharpens the eye, readies the legs. The other belongs to the calming half, the side that says, "The effort is done, the day is finished, let the body breathe." These two voices have been pressing against each other since morning. Neither is ever fully silent, but through the day, the alert half is usually louder. As sleep comes on, the balance shifts. The calming half of the nervous system begins to take the wheel. Its signal travels down a long, wandering nerve, one that runs from the base of the brain all the way through the chest and into the belly, touching the heart along the way. That nerve reaches Harvey directly. It does not shout, it does not command. It simply sends a long, steady signal, the way a hand rests gently on a shoulder. Easy now, no rush. You can slow down. And Harvey listens. As the deeper layers of sleep settle in, the slow, still stages where the body is most fully at rest, that calming signal grows stronger. The variability in Harvey's beat changes character. It does not disappear. If anything, it deepens. The gaps between beats lengthen. The rhythm grows more spacious, more supple. The variation that was quick and reactive through the day becomes something more like breathing. Slow, wide, unhurried. This is not the heart losing its grip. A heart with no variability, one that beats with the rigid sameness of a metronome, would actually be cause for curiosity. The variability is life. It is the body in conversation with itself. The nervous system and the heart trading quiet signals in a language built over millions of years. And when sleep deepens and the calming signal grows strong, that conversation slows into something that is almost meditative. Harvey knows this. He has known it every night of every year since before the day you were born. He knew it when you were still inside someone else's warmth. He knew it in the first weeks when sleep was almost all there was. He has carried this knowledge not in memory, but in muscle, in the simple, wordless fluency of a body that does what bodies are built to do. And here is the part worth sitting with. The variability, that beat-to-beat flexibility, is not just a sign of something. It is a doing. It is the heart actively modulating, actively adjusting to the state the body is in. In deep sleep, the body is in the quietest state available to it. So the heart adjusts to that. It rises to the quietness. It matches the room. The pauses between beats in those deep still hours are the longest and most spacious of the entire day. Not alarming, not wrong, correct. This is what the heart is supposed to do with darkness and stillness and time. It does not fight the quiet, it joins it. For the muscle that has worked without a single day off, through fevers, through grief, through the accumulated weight of every ordinary Tuesday, this is not shutdown. It is a different kind of doing. A gentler gear. The work continues, the rate of the work eases. And in that easing, something subtle and important unfolds. The beat-to-beat conversation between the heart and the calming nervous system becomes, for a few hours, the primary thing Harvey does. Not the pumping, the listening. It did not make the night smaller. It made it necessary. Everything is quieter than it was a moment ago. Even the small sounds have gone soft around the edges. There is a line that runs from the brain all the way down through the chest and into the belly. A long, wandering nerve called the vagus nerve. It does not travel in a straight path. It meanders, it loops, it checks in on the heart, the lungs, the stomach, the gut, before it finally settles. And it is this nerve, old, patient, unhurried, that carries the single most important message of the sleeping hours. The nerve belongs to Vagus Vic. Vic looks like a telephone operator from a gentler era, a pale cream cord of a figure coiled loosely at his base, his friendly face riding near the top, two small arms ready at his sides. His whole job is connection, keeping the line open between the gut and the brain, managing the signals that travel in both directions. Most people assume the brain is the one giving orders. Vic knows the truth. Most of the calls go the other way. The gut speaks. The brain listens and reacts. Vic finds this quietly satisfying, but does not make a fuss about it. All day, Vic holds back. There are stairs to climb, meetings to endure, coffee to drink, small urgencies to navigate. The other half of the nervous system, the one built for action and alertness, has the louder voice during the waking hours. Vic waits. He tends his switchboard. He keeps the line warm. And then sleep arrives. And the room gets dark. And the body goes still. This is the moment Vic has been waiting for. He places his call. It is not a dramatic call. There is no command, no override, no signal that overrides all the others in a single burst. It is more like the steady hum of a dial tone, a long, continuous, soft instruction that arrives at Harvey's door and says, simply, "You can slow down now." The alert half of the nervous system steps back. Vic's signal grows. Harvey, who has been running at his daytime pace since before the sun came up, begins to ease. The mechanism behind this is one of those biological facts that once you hear it, makes a certain quiet sense. The vagus nerve reaches the heart through what are called parasympathetic fibers, meaning nerve fibers that belong to the calming side of the nervous system, the side built not for action, but for rest and recovery. When those fibers are active, they release a chemical messenger that slows the heart's natural pacemaker, the small cluster of cells in the upper right of the heart that sets the beat. That cluster, called the sinoatrial node, is exquisitely sensitive to this messenger. It receives the signal and it responds. The interval between beats lengthens. The pace softens. Harvey exhales in the only way a heart can exhale. What makes this remarkable is not just that the heart slows. It is how the heart slows. It does not slow like a machine being throttled down to a lower setting. It slows the way a good driver eases off a highway, gradually, responsively, still adjusting to every small change in the road. Each beat is still its own negotiation. The interval before the next one is never perfectly identical to the one before. The heart listens, even in sleep. It tracks the gentle rise and fall of the breath. It notices the tiny shifts in pressure that come with each inhale and exhale, and it adjusts. This sensitivity, the small, ongoing variation in the time between heartbeats, is something that deepens through the sleeping hours, not something that disappears. In the lightest stages of sleep, it is already present. But as the sleep grows deeper, as the calming signal from Vic strengthens, the variation itself changes character. The pauses between beats grow wider. The rhythm becomes more spacious. The beat-to-beat conversation between the nervous system and the heart opens up into something almost leisurely. A heart that is well and unhurried does this naturally. It does not lock into a rigid, identical rhythm. It breathes, in a sense, along with the body that holds it. The variation is not a flaw in the system. It is the system working as it should, flexible, responsive, alive to the moment. Harvey has earned this. He has been running steady, uninterrupted, uncomplaining since the very beginning. And the beginning was a long time ago. Every climb, every sprint, every spike of surprise, every long afternoon that asked more than the morning had promised, Harvey answered. He never once asked for a pause. He simply adjusted and continued. Now Vic's line is open, and the signal is clean, and the room is dark, and the breath is slow. Harvey knows this hour. He does not race into the slowdown, he settles into it. Beat by quiet beat, the pace drops to its softest register. The pauses lengthen. The intervals between beats carry a stillness that belongs only to this part of the day. Before morning, in the deepest quiet, when the tireless muscle is finally, briefly, allowed to coast. This is not the heart doing less. This is the heart doing the one thing it cannot do while the world is asking something of it. It rests in the only way a heart ever rests, by running as gently as it is ever permitted to run. It did not make the night quieter, it made it earned. Somewhere outside, the night is going about its business without you. It does not need watching. You can put that down too. Every beat begins the same way. Not with a squeeze, with a spark. Deep inside Harvey's upper right wall, there is a small cluster of specialized cells, the sinoatrial node, which you might think of as Harvey's built-in conductor. It does not wait for instructions from the brain to fire. It fires on its own, rhythmically, continuously, because that is what those particular cells are designed to do. They reach a certain electrical charge, they tip over into a signal, and the signal spreads down through Harvey's walls, through layer after layer of muscle, and the whole heart squeezes in one coordinated wave. Then it resets, and does it again. This has been happening since before you drew your first breath. The sinoatrial node was firing in the womb. It has not paused since. But here is what that simple picture leaves out. The node does not work in isolation. It listens. Two streams of signal from the nervous system reach it constantly. One that nudges the rate faster, one that nudges it slower, and the node splits the difference, beat by beat. The rate you feel at any given moment is not the node's own preference. It is a negotiated outcome. The node is the conductor, but the nervous system is the one setting the tempo. And right now, as sleep deepens around you, the slower signal is winning by a wide margin. Vagus Vic has been sending his long, steady call down the vagus nerve all through the early hours of sleep. That nerve, the body's longest wandering pathway, running from the base of the brain all the way into the chest and abdomen, carries the calming voice of the parasympathetic nervous system, the half of the nervous system that governs rest and recovery. Vic's signal reaches the sinoatrial node and in effect turns the dial down. Not off, never off, just quieter. The node fires a little less urgently. The pauses between signals stretch. The muscle takes its time. What happens at the level of the cell is worth slowing down to see. The calming signal works through a chemical messenger, a molecule called acetylcholine, which is the body's own way of whispering to the node to hold on just a moment longer before firing. Acetylcholine reaches the node cells and makes it slightly harder for them to tip over into that electrical spark. The threshold rises. The node waits a beat longer than it would otherwise. And in that extra waiting, that fraction of a second of cellular patience, the heart rate falls. This is not Harvey being switched off. It is Harvey being given permission to pause. Harvey knows this dark. He has been through enough nights to recognize the feeling, the gradual easing, the thickening of the pauses, the sense of the electrical signal arriving a little more gently than it did an hour ago. He does not need to be told what it means. He receives the slower tempo, the way a musician receives a conductor lowering a baton, with quiet readiness, and the muscle itself changes in response. All day, Harvey has been contracting with a certain degree of urgency, responding to the faster tempo the daytime nervous system sets. Now, with the tempo slower, the contraction is different. The squeeze is still complete. The blood still moves, but the muscle has more time between contractions to do something it cannot easily do when the pace is quick. It rests. Not the way you rest, lying still. The way a muscle rests, by returning more fully to its relaxed length before the next contraction comes. That returning, that full release between beats, is part of what keeps the muscle healthy over years and decades. And it happens most completely when the pace is slowest. Which means deep sleep is not just easier on Harvey. It is quietly restorative in a way that nothing in the daytime can replicate. The muscle gets longer pauses. The cells get a better reset. The sinoatrial node gets to fire without the nervous urgency of cortisol and adrenaline pressing against it from the other side. There is something almost architectural about it. The way the whole electrical system of the heart is built to receive this nightly slowing and to use it. The node, the pathways that carry the signal down through the walls, the muscle fibers themselves. All of them are calibrated for a rhythm that is, at its best, not fixed but flexible. Not a metronome ticking out the same interval forever, but a living tempo that slows for sleep and wakes for morning and adjusts in between. That flexibility, that responsiveness, is built into the design. Harvey, for his part, has never required an explanation for any of this. He simply runs the system, spark, wave, squeeze, release, pause, spark again, and trusts that the signals arriving at his node are the right ones for the moment. When Vic's calm call strengthens and the acetylcholine rises and the pauses lengthen, Harvey does not question it. He settles into it. He has been earning this settling all day, every beat earned. Every pause deserved. It did not make the slowing automatic. It made it biological. Let the jaw unclench. Let the space between the eyebrows go smooth. Small places hold the day longest. Here is something most people never think about. The heartbeat is not all squeeze. Half of it, maybe more, is the letting go. Every beat has two sides. The first is contraction, the moment the muscle pushes. The second is release, the moment the muscle opens back up and fills again. That release is called diastole, from the Greek for expansion, for pulling apart. And it is during diastole, in that open, filling moment, that the blood Harvey needs for his own muscle fibers arrives. The heart, it turns out, cannot feed itself while it is squeezing. The coronary arteries, the small vessels that run along Harvey's outer surface and carry oxygen-rich blood to his own cells, they fill best when the muscle is relaxed. When the muscle is in diastole, when the pause between beats is long enough to let the walls open fully and the blood flow in without being pressed against a tightened wall. This is not a quirk. It is architecture. When Harvey beats quickly, the pause between beats grows shorter. There is less time between one squeeze and the next, which means less time for the coronary arteries to do their work, less time for his own muscle cells to receive what they need. The heart still manages. It is very good at managing, but it is working closer to the edge of its own supply. Slowly, though slowly, is a different story. As sleep deepens and the calming nervous system settles in, the pauses grow longer. The diastolic window, the time when the muscle is open and filling, widens. The coronary arteries have room. Harvey's own cells drink more easily. The muscle is not just resting in the sense of doing less. It is resting in the sense of actually receiving. There is a quiet elegance to this that deserves a moment of attention. Harvey spends all day feeding everyone else, pushing blood to the brain, the gut, the muscles, the skin. He keeps the whole supply chain moving. And the price of that generosity is that he must wait for his own delivery until the pace drops low enough to let the window open wide. He waits, and somewhere in the deep of sleep, the window opens. Harvey knows this. Now here is the part that connects to what came before. The same slowing that widens the diastolic pause, the longer beat-to-beat interval that vagus-VIX signal encourages, also allows the cardiac muscle fibers themselves a fuller reset. Muscle cells, including heart cells, rely on a process called calcium cycling to move from contraction to release and back again. Calcium floods into a cell to trigger a squeeze. Then it must be actively pumped back out or tucked away inside the cell's own storage before the next contraction can begin cleanly. When beats come fast, calcium does not always finish clearing before the next signal arrives. The cell contracts again before it has fully released the last one, not a failure. Just a compromise made countless times a day. The heart knows how to accommodate it, but when the pace slows, the calcium cycling has time to complete. The release is fuller. The next contraction begins from a cleaner starting point, and the muscle, over the long hours of deep sleep, quietly works through a kind of mechanical housekeeping that the daytime pace simply does not allow. This is not dramatic. It happens without sound, without sensation. There is no moment you could point to and say, "There, that is when it happened." It is gradual, continuous, and entirely invisible from the outside, which is perhaps why it goes unnoticed. People notice what quickens: the startled breath, the racing pulse, the flush of effort. They do not tend to notice the slow, careful filling of a moment between beats. But that quiet moment is doing real work. Magnesium Max, small and silver grey, has a role here that he would never mention unless asked. He is a mineral, a cofactor, which means a helper molecule that makes other molecules work. And one of his jobs is to keep the calcium pumps running. The proteins that move calcium out of muscle cells after contraction require magnesium to function. Without enough of it, the pumps slow down. The calcium lingers. The reset takes longer. Max does not announce this contribution. He simply shows up and does it, the way he has always done, and then waits to see if anyone buys more leafy greens. They usually do not. But the pumps keep running anyway, at whatever pace they can, because the body is pragmatic above all else. The deep hours of sleep are when this particular pragmatism pays off most clearly. The slower pace, the longer diastolic window, the completed calcium cycle, the well-supplied muscle, these are not separate events. They arrive together as a single state, made possible by the same calming signal that has been described already, and that continues, steady and unhurried, through the dark. Harvey does not marvel at this. He has no word for it. He simply accepts the longer pause between beats the way a person accepts a full breath after a long hill, not with gratitude exactly, but with the deep, wordless recognition of something the body needed. Harvey knows this hour. The heart was not built to run hard forever. It was built to run hard when it must, and then when the night is quiet enough to receive. Not to stop, just to receive. It did not make the rest optional, it made it structural. Let your shoulders drop a little further. Let the back of your neck soften. The pillow is doing the work now, not you. There is a quiet irony at the center of the heart's design that most people never hear about. Harvey pumps blood to the entire body. Every organ, every extremity, every remote corner of the system depends on what Harvey sends out. The lungs, the brain, the long muscles of the legs, they all receive their supply from him. He is the origin of all that circulation. And yet Harvey himself needs to be fed. He cannot simply keep some of what passes through. The chambers that hold the blood do not nourish the walls that surround them, not in any meaningful way. So the heart has its own dedicated plumbing, two main channels, called the coronary arteries, that wrap around the outside of the muscle like a crown. The word coronary comes from the Latin for crown. The name is accurate. These vessels ring the heart and send branches inward, reaching every layer of cardiac muscle to deliver the oxygen and fuel that keep Harvey contracting. And here is the thing about coronary circulation that the daytime obscures. When the heart contracts, squeezing hard to push blood out, the muscle walls press inward against their own vessels. The pressure inside the contracting muscle is high enough that it briefly compresses the very arteries running through it. Flow into the heart muscle actually slows, or in some of the deeper layers, nearly stops during the contraction itself. The muscle is working so hard, that it partly blocks its own supply line. So the coronary arteries do most of their filling work during the pause. During diastole, the moment of release between contractions, the muscle relaxes, the compression lifts, and blood moves more freely through the coronary vessels into the heart wall. That pause is when Harvey actually feeds himself. This makes the pause more than a rest. It is the moment of self-nourishment. Now consider what happens as sleep deepens and Harvey's pace slows. Each diastolic pause grows longer. The interval between contractions widens. And because the coronary arteries do their best work during that release, when the muscle is soft and the vessels are uncompressed, a longer pause means a more generous supply window for Harvey's own cells. Slow beats are not weaker beats. They are better supplied beats. The cardiac muscle cells, called cardiomyocytes, the individual contracting units that make up the heart wall, receive more oxygen per cycle when the cycle is unhurried. The fuel delivery is more complete. The cleanup of metabolic byproducts, the small chemical residue that hard work leaves behind in any muscle, has more time to clear. Harvey runs cleaner at low speed. There is an analogy that holds up here. Think of a very busy kitchen during the lunch rush. Orders come in fast. Dishes go out fast. But the cleaning between dishes is abbreviated, a quick rinse, not a proper wash. The kitchen functions, but residue accumulates. Now give the kitchen a slow afternoon. The same space, the same equipment, the same staff. But now there is time to do each task fully. The reset is real. Harvey's cells run something like that. Not because they are dirty or depleted, they are simply thorough when given the time, and compressed when not. The slow night hours give them time. Magnesium max is present in this too, as he tends to be. The coronary smooth muscle, the thin layer of muscle wrapped around the artery walls, controlling how wide or narrow those vessels run, uses magnesium as part of its relaxation chemistry. When max is available, the vessel walls can ease open more fully. The supply channel widens a little. The flow improves a little. Nothing dramatic. Just the difference between a hallway that is slightly open and one that is fully open. Over millions of beats, that difference accumulates into something real. Max, if asked, would say he was already there before anyone noticed. He would not be wrong. There is one more detail worth sitting with. The heart does not distribute its own blood supply evenly. The inner layers of the heart wall, the subendocardium, the tissue closest to the inside of the chambers, are the most metabolically demanding, and they are also the most dependent on that diastolic pause for their supply. They are the last in line during the squeeze, and the first to benefit from a long release. When Harvey's pace slows and each diastolic window extends, those inner layers receive the most proportionate gain. The part of the muscle that works hardest is the part that benefits most from the gentle hours. Harvey knows this, in the way a muscle knows the thing it needs without being able to name it. The body built a whole coronary system just to keep the heart alive, while the heart keeps everything else alive. That is the design. a dedicated supply line, a pause-dependent flow, and a nighttime slowdown that opens the window as wide as it will go. It did not make Harvey fragile. It made him honest about what he needs. Feel how still the room has become. Warm and quiet and safe. Nothing here needs your attention. Nothing here is asking anything of you at all. There is something that happens to Harvey's rhythm during deep sleep that has nothing to do with speed. Speed is the easy part to notice. The beats slow, the pauses lengthen. That much has already been said, and it is true. But inside that slowing, something subtler occurs, something closer to the way a river finds its natural course when the rain finally stops and no one is forcing the water anywhere. The rhythm becomes coherent. That word needs unpacking. During the day, Harvey's beat carries a kind of contained noise in it. Not harmful noise, useful noise. The heart responds to the breath, to a thought, to a step on the stair, to a change in temperature, to the small persistent chatter of the waking nervous system. All of that shows up in the rhythm. The interval between beats shifts and shifts again and shifts again, each one slightly different from the last. This is the heart being responsive. It is, in a real sense, the heart listening. But during deep sleep, that listening changes character. The calming half of the nervous system, the one vagus Vic runs the signal line for, begins to set the tempo in a steadier, more organized way. The competing noise from the waking world quiets down. The daytime tug-of-war between the activating and the calming branches of the nervous system eases, and one side simply leads. What emerges is a rhythm that oscillates in a more orderly, wave-like way, expanding and contracting in gentle cycles, tied closely to the breath, shaped by the slow, reliable signal coming down Vic's line. Researchers describe this as increased low-frequency coherence in the heart's rhythm, which is a technical way of saying the beat-to-beat variation starts moving together in a pattern, rather than scattering in all directions. Harvey's rhythm does not go flat. It finds a shape. Here is why that matters. A rhythm that varies widely, but randomly tells a different story than a rhythm that varies in an organized, wave-like way. The second kind means the nervous system is talking to the heart clearly, and the heart is answering clearly. The conversation is clean. There is no static on the line, to borrow Vic's way of putting it. Vic, for his part, finds this deeply satisfying. He has been managing the connection between the brain and the heart, a direct line through the brainstem down to the sinoatrial node, since long before the waking world gave him any credit. During the day, that line gets crowded. Other signals compete. The activating branch of the nervous system is louder, generally, and quicker to act. Vic's calming signal has to assert itself against real-time noise. But during deep sleep, the noise drops, and Vic's signal, slow, steady, precisely timed, runs clean. The result is a heart rhythm that breathes. When you inhale, the heart quickens slightly, a small natural response to pressure changes inside the chest. When you exhale, it eases again. This back and forth, the quickening and the easing tied to each breath, is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, a name that sounds alarming and is in fact the opposite. It is one of the clearest signs that the heart and lungs are communicating well, that the body's systems are well integrated, that nothing is overriding anything else. During deep sleep, respiratory sinus arrhythmia becomes more pronounced. The wave gets deeper. The quickening on the inhale and the easing on the exhale grow more distinct because Vic's calming signal is stronger and the background noise is lower. Harvey feels every breath in the shape of his rhythm. The two organs, the one that moves air and the one that moves blood, settle into a conversation so old and so practiced that it requires no oversight at all. Harvey knows this hour. He has been part of that conversation since before memory, since before breath had a name. The rhythm that emerges during deep sleep is not a new thing. It is the oldest version of his work, the one that existed before demands were placed on it, before the body had stairs to climb or news to absorb or deadlines that arrived at midnight. Magnesium Max, working his quiet shift among the cardiac muscle cells and the walls of the small vessels, contributes to this too. The calcium channels that govern the electrical signals in the heart's conduction system, the pathways that carry each firing order from the sinoatrial node outward to the muscle, depend on a careful mineral balance to function smoothly. Max helps maintain that balance quietly, without announcement. The electrical wave that produces each heartbeat travels more cleanly when the environment around the conducting cells is well supported. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would make a headline. Just the 1,000 small conditions that allow a rhythm to be a rhythm, rather than a series of isolated events. The heart during deep sleep is not simply beating more slowly. It is beating more like itself. The rhythm is shaped by its own design, wave-like, breath-tied, coherent rather than by whatever the waking world required of it in the hours before. And that distinction turns out to be the whole point. It was never just about the speed. It was about what becomes possible when the speed is allowed to settle, when the noise clears and the heart's own rhythm has room to take its natural form. Not a simpler beat, a truer one. Deeper now. Softer now. The breath keeps its own slow time, in and out, without any help from you. There is a phrase that gets used about the heart, and it is almost always used wrong. People say the heart is a pump, and yes, it pumps. But calling it a pump is like calling a cathedral a roof. Technically accurate, entirely missing the point. Harvey is not just moving blood. He is timing it. Every contraction is a precisely sequenced electrical event. A wave that starts at the top, rolls downward through the muscle, and squeezes the chambers in exactly the right order, at exactly the right moment, so that the blood leaves cleanly and arrives where it needs to go. The pump does not just push, it orchestrates. And like any good orchestration, it can be done well or it can be done rushed. During the day, Harvey's orchestra plays fast. The tempo is up, the players are tight together, the gaps between measures are short. The music works, it gets the blood where it needs to go, but there is not much room in there. Not much space for the players to breathe. Not much time for the whole apparatus to settle and reset between runs. As sleep deepens, the tempo drops, the gaps widen, and something quiet but important gets the chance to happen. Here is what it is. The electrical signal that starts each heartbeat originates in a small cluster of specialized cells near the top of the heart, the sinoatrial node, which has appeared here before. Those cells fire on their own. Nobody tells them to. They carry their own internal clock and they use it. But the rate of that clock is adjustable. The calming nervous system, through vagus-VIX long wandering signal, releases a chemical messenger called acetylcholine, a molecule that reaches the node and tells it to pause a little longer before firing again. That lengthened pause is part of the story already told. But here is the part that has not come up yet. The sinoatrial node does not just set the pace. It also resets itself between firings. Every time the node fires, the cells inside it go through a brief recovery period, a kind of electrical exhale, before they are ready to fire again. During the day, when the pace is high, that recovery period is compressed. The cells barely finish one cycle before they are pulled into the next. The node keeps up, but it is working at the edge of its comfortable range. At the slower pace of deep sleep, the recovery period completes more fully. The node cells finish their electrical exhale without being interrupted. And the result is a cleaner, more consistent signal at the start of each beat, less variation in the shape of the electrical wave, better fidelity in the timing of each chamber's squeeze. This is not about going slower for the sake of slowness. It is about the node operating inside its comfortable range, rather than at the outer edge of it. A thermostat works best when it is not being asked to compensate for a door left open in January. The node works best when the demand on it is not pressing its limits. Harvey knows this. Something else happens during this slower window that connects the electrical recovery to the mechanical one. The cardiac cells, the actual muscle fibers doing the squeezing, need time to manage the proteins responsible for the contraction itself. There is a protein called troponin, which controls whether the muscle fiber is primed to contract or released to rest. Between beats, troponin needs to clear the signal to let the fiber go so that the next contraction can start clean without residual tension left in the muscle. At a slower pace, troponin has time to do this properly. The fiber releases fully. The relaxation is complete before the next wave arrives. The mechanical reset is not interrupted mid-sentence. At higher speeds, that process gets compressed too. The fiber does not always fully release before the next contraction comes. There is, in a sense, always a little unfinished business in the muscle, a whisper of the previous beat still present when the next one begins. Deep sleep is when Harvey gets to finish his sentences. Magnesium Max is involved here as well, not for the first time, not for the last. He sits inside the cardiac cells throughout this slower cycle, helping the protein machinery do its work, supporting the relaxation enzymes, keeping the chemical environment steady enough for the muscle to let go cleanly. He does not do this with any fanfare. He was already there. He simply does the job the way he always has, while the pace is low enough for it to matter most. Put it all together, and here is what the slower pace of deep sleep actually gives the heart. A cleaner electrical reset at the node, a fuller protein release in the muscle fiber, and more space between beats for both of those processes to complete without interruption. The heart is not just beating less. It is beating better in the narrow, technical sense that every moving part of the system is allowed to complete its cycle before the next one begins. The slower pace does not make the heart weaker. It makes it more precise, not a rest from the work, a return to the fullness of it. Warmth is spreading through the shoulders, down the arms, into the hands, slow and even like heat through a room. Every heartbeat begins as a spark, not a metaphor. A real, measurable electrical event, a tiny voltage that starts at the sinoatrial node at the top of the heart, and then travels downward through the muscle in a very precise sequence. The spark moves through a relay station called the atrioventricular node, meaning the junction between the upper and lower chambers, and from there it fans out along a branching network of conductive fibers that reach every corner of the lower chambers almost simultaneously. The whole journey takes less than a fraction of a second, and it happens with every single beat. That path, the route the electrical signal takes from top to bottom, is called the cardiac conduction system. It is Harvey's own internal wiring. He was born with it. It has been running since before anyone was paying attention. And like every system that runs continuously, it benefits enormously from being allowed to work without interruption, without rush, without a signal arriving before the previous one has fully cleared. During the waking hours, the rate is high enough that the intervals between signals are short. The conduction system keeps pace. It does its job. But there is a compressing quality to speed. Each signal must be ready slightly before the tissue has fully recovered from the last. The system accommodates this. Harvey never falters. But accommodation is not the same as ease. As sleep deepens and vagus vicks long, steadying signal grows stronger, that rate slows. The spark still starts at the sinoatrial node. It still travels the same path. But now there is more time between one signal and the next. The relay station at the atrioventricular node, which has its own small recovery to complete before it can pass along what it receives, has room to finish. The branching fibers downstream have time to reset fully before the next wave asks anything of them. The technical word for this recovery period in each fiber is the refractory interval, meaning the brief, window after one electrical event during which the tissue collects itself before it can fire again. In most waking moments, the refractory interval and the rate are closely matched, like a runner who finishes one stride just in time to begin the next. It works, but it is efficient, not spacious. At the slower pace of deep sleep, the refractory intervals complete with time to spare. Every part of the conduction pathway is ready, fully, cleanly ready, before the next spark arrives. The signal that travels through a fully recovered pathway moves without resistance. The sequence from top to bottom becomes more precise. The lower chambers receive their signal at exactly the moment the upper chambers have finished handing off their contents. The timing that coordinates the whole pump, upper chambers first, lower chambers after, with no overlap and no lag, expresses itself at its cleanest. Harvey knows this. This matters because the heart is not a single pump, but a coordinated one. The upper chambers collect, the lower chambers push. If those two actions happen in a slightly misaligned sequence, the pump is less efficient, not broken, just working harder than it needs to. The coordination of the sequence is what makes the heart an elegant machine rather than merely a muscular one. At rest, that coordination becomes visible in a way that the daytime pace tends to compress. Magnesium max is part of this too, supporting the ion channels that govern how quickly each fiber's electrical charge resets. He has been doing this since before anyone named the process. He does not require acknowledgement, but the fibers reset better when he is present, and the conduction pathway benefits from that quiet support. So the slowing of Harvey's beat during deep sleep does something more than widen the pauses. It gives the conduction system the full electrical road from the sinoatrial node down to the outermost fibers of the lower chambers, the interval it prefers, not the interval it can survive, the one it was designed for. There is a related quality to this that almost no one thinks about. The electrical signal does not just travel through the heart. It generates a field that extends, faintly, beyond the heart itself, which is why it can be measured at the surface of the skin. That field is the thing that becomes the pattern on an electrocardiogram, the tracing of peaks and valleys that represents one full beat from spark to reset. At a slower pace, each of those peaks is preceded and followed by a more complete baseline, a longer stretch of electrical quiet between events. The quiet is not nothing. It is the period during which the whole system is recovering, resetting, and preparing. More quiet means more complete preparation. More complete preparation means a cleaner signal on the next beat. The heart's electrical life, like its mechanical one, is governed not just by what fires, but by what happens in between. Harvey knows this in the dark. Deep sleep does not give the conduction system anything it does not already have. It simply gives it time, the one thing that running fast tends to take away. The slower pace does not improve the wiring. It reveals what the wiring was always capable of. When the intervals are long enough for each step to complete before the next one begins. Not a simpler system, a more fully expressed one. The mind is allowed to wander off mid-sentence. Let it. There is nothing here you have to keep hold of. Not a simpler system, a more fully expressed one, and now one layer deeper. Here is something the daytime never shows you. The heart is a warm engine. It runs on fuel, oxygen, glucose, fatty acids, and like any engine working hard, it produces heat. Most of the time, that heat is simply part of the cost. Harvey does his job, and warmth is the byproduct. Nobody makes a note of it, nobody marks it down, but heat is not neutral inside a cell. The proteins that manage Harvey's workload, the enzymes that shuffle ions, the ones that pump calcium, the ones that reset electrical gates, all of them are sensitive to temperature in ways that are quiet and cumulative. They work best inside a fairly narrow range. Push the temperature a degree or two toward the warm end, and they still function. But they become less precise. The margins tighten. The sequence gets a little rushed. Daytime Harvey lives near that warm edge. Not dangerously so, just warmly. Because daytime work demands it. What happens during deep sleep is something more interesting. Core body temperature falls during the deeper stages of sleep. The body is not passive about this. It actively sheds heat through the skin, particularly from the hands and feet, redistributing warmth toward the surface so the interior cools. The process is coordinated and purposeful, not accidental. By the time sleep settles into its most restful phases, the body's inner temperature has dropped from its afternoon peak. Harvey notices. At a cooler core temperature, his enzymatic machinery runs with a little more room. Not slower in a broken sense, just eased back from that warm, slightly compressed edge. The proteins involved in calcium cycling, the ones magnesium max helps shepherd through their resets, complete their work with a fraction more fidelity at the cooler temperature. The ion channels that manage the electrical signals through the sinoatrial node and down through the conduction fibers hold their states a little more cleanly before transitioning. The whole molecular operation has slightly more tolerance in every step. Think of it this way. A crowded kitchen at lunch service runs hot. The cooks are fast, and they are good, and the food is fine. But every motion is compressed. There is no slack anywhere. If one station falls half a beat behind, the whole line feels it. The same kitchen at 2 in the morning, with one calm cook and no orders pressing, runs differently. Not worse, cleaner. Every step has room to finish before the next one begins. The same ingredients, the same tools, the same skills, just enough temperature and pace to let the process breathe. Deep sleep is Harvey's 2 in the morning. The cooler core temperature, combined with the slower pace that Vagus-Vic's calming signal has already arranged, creates conditions in which the heart's molecular work can complete with less compression at every level. The calcium pumps have time and temperature on their side. The electrical resets have their full interval. The enzymes that handle the tiny transactions of each contraction have slightly wider margins. None of this is visible from the outside. No instrument placed against the chest, would show you the temperature inside a cardiac cell, or measure the fidelity of a single calcium pump cycle. But the conditions are real, and Harvey has been working inside them long enough to know the difference. Harvey knows this dark. He has felt the easy hours before. He knows what it is to run at the warm edge of the day, where everything works, but nothing has room to spare. And he knows what it is to settle into this cooler, slower, more spacious version of his own operation, where the margins widen, and the sequence is allowed to be precise in a way that the afternoon's pace cannot quite permit. There is a word for what happens when a complex system is given just enough temperature and pace to complete each step fully before moving to the next. The word is efficiency, though that undersells it. What you are really describing is a system running close to its own design, not pushed past the margins where precision starts to erode, but held inside the range where every part of the process can be what it is supposed to be. Deep sleep is when Harvey gets to be what he was designed to be, not a compromised version, working adequately under the day's thermal and metabolic pressure. The full version, the one that completes every step. Magnesium max, still present in the smooth muscle of the vessel walls and the iron channels of the conduction fibers, supports this cooling-aided efficiency in the same quiet way he supports everything else. He does not announce it. He was already there before anyone thought to look. The calcium pumps that benefit from both the cooler temperature and the slower pace rely on him to function at all. He accepts this without requiring acknowledgement. Cortisol Carl, meanwhile, remains in the break room. His absence is part of what allows core temperature to fall in the first place. Carl's daytime role involves raising the body's metabolic activity. That is, the rate at which cells burn fuel and generate heat. With Carl quiet through the deep hours, the metabolic furnace runs lower, and the cooling has room to happen. His absence is not a failure. It is the schedule working correctly, so the heat drops. The pace slows. The margins widen. It did not make Harvey simpler. It made him whole. There is no next thing. Nothing waiting on the other side of this moment. Just the weight of the blanket and the slow, easy breath. It did not make Harvey simpler. It made him whole. And here is something that follows quietly from that wholeness, something that takes a little while to see. During the day, Harvey works against pressure. Every contraction pushes blood forward into a vascular system that is wide awake, tuned for movement, shaped by the demands of upright posture and active muscle. The vessels are held a little firmer. The resistance is a little higher. Harvey has to push a little harder, beat after beat, to move the same volume of blood through a system that is braced for the world. At rest, that changes. During deep sleep especially, the smooth muscle wrapped around the small blood vessels, the ones that govern how much resistance Harvey pumps against, gradually releases its hold. Not all at once. Gradually, the way a fist unclenches in the warmth. The vessels widen slightly, the downstream pressure softens, and Harvey, without being asked, does not have to push quite as hard. The technical term for the resistance Harvey pumps against is vascular resistance, the pushback of the blood vessels against the flowing blood. Magnesium Max, steady and unannounced, has a hand in this. He supports the relaxation of the smooth muscle in vessel walls, and as he does, that resistance drifts lower through the sleeping hours. Harvey responds the way any good engine responds to a cleared road. He eases. What this means in practice is that the amount of work Harvey's muscle has to perform with each contraction, not just how many times he contracts, but how hard, falls during deep sleep. Cardiologists call this the double product, a simple estimate of the heart's total workload calculated from the rate and the force of each beat together. It is not a number worth memorizing. The point is the direction. Through the sleeping hours, Harvey's total workload drifts lower, and the cardiac muscle expends less fuel per unit of time than at almost any other moment. And that matters because the heart muscle is extraordinarily expensive to run. Most muscles in the body can get by for a short time without oxygen, running on a backup chemistry that does not require it, accumulating a kind of debt they pay back later with heavier breathing. The cardiac muscle cannot do this for more than a moment. It is almost entirely aerobic, meaning it runs on oxygen continuously without meaningful exception. It is packed more densely than almost any tissue in the body, with the small power-generating structures inside cells called mitochondria. And those mitochondria are burning fuel every second, whether Harvey is sprinting through a stressful afternoon or idling in the dark. When Harvey's workload falls, when the rate slows, when the downstream resistance eases, when the diastolic pause widens and the coronary supply runs generous, the mitochondria inside his muscle cells can finally run a little cooler. Not idle. Harvey's mitochondria are never idle, but the ratio of supply to demand tilts gently in his favor. The oxygen arriving through the coronary vessels is more than enough for the work being asked. The fuel burned per beat falls. The byproducts of exertion clear more readily. There is a word for this condition when a tissue's oxygen supply comfortably exceeds its demand, but the word matters less than the image. Picture a kitchen where, all day, the orders have come in faster than the cooks can plate them. During deep sleep, the kitchen finally catches up, the orders slow. The supply of ingredients holds steady. The cooks move without rushing, and nothing burns at the edges. Harvey knows this hour. His muscle cells are not resting in the way a leg muscle rests when you sit down. They are still contracting, still pumping, still doing the work that no other organ does. But the margin between what is demanded and what is supplied, that margin, which through a long day can run thin, opens up. Slightly, reliably. And in that margin, something small and important happens. The repair chemistry that is always present in the cell, but always outcompeted during high demand, finally gets a turn. Cells continuously manage small imperfections, proteins that have been working hard, structures that have shifted slightly under mechanical stress, molecules that need replacing rather than repairing. This is not dramatic. It is more like the way a well-run kitchen wipes the counter between orders, or the way a careful driver checks the mirrors without being told. The maintenance that keeps a system running without incident. Through the busy hours, the cardiac muscle cells do this maintenance at a disadvantage. The energy and the molecular machinery are directed toward contraction first, and the housekeeping waits. During deep sleep, the waiting ends. Not all at once and not completely. Harvey never stops contracting. But the proportion of cellular resources available for maintenance and renewal tilts, quietly and without ceremony, toward the work that daytime crowds out. Vagus Vic's long signal, still steady and unhurried, holds the rate low. Magnesium Max supports the enzymatic side of this cellular tidying. The same iron pumps and protein chaperones that run the relaxation cycle also support the fidelity of the repair processes running in the background. Cortisol Carl remains in the break room, making no demands on the available fuel. The whole system is arranged, without having arranged itself consciously, for exactly this. Harvey does not know the word for any of this. He does not need to. He only knows the feel of a pace that asks less than he can give. He has been giving everything all day. This is the part of the night when everything is, briefly, enough. It did not empty him. It restored what emptying had taken. You are held here, resting and warm and safe. That is the whole of it. There is no other part you have missed. There is a thing the heart does that almost nobody knows it does. Not the beating itself. Everyone knows about that. Something quieter, something that only becomes visible when you look at the space between beats rather than the beats themselves. Every heartbeat has a shape. Not just a thump, but a wave, a rise and a fall. A moment of pressure and then a moment of release. And that wave carries inside it a kind of electrical fingerprint. Researchers can read that fingerprint on a recording and learn something about where the heart is in its day, whether it is pushing hard through a busy afternoon or idling in the deep hours of a night well spent. Harvey has a nighttime signature. It is different from his daytime one. Not just slower, shaped differently. The wave itself changed by the conditions the sleeping body creates. Here is how it works. The electrical signal that starts each heartbeat does not simply switch on and off like a light. It rises through a series of phases, a careful choreography of charged particles moving in and out of the cardiac muscle cell, each phase named, each phase dependent on the one before it finishing cleanly. The whole sequence is called the cardiac action potential, meaning the electrical event that triggers a single contraction. During the day, when the heart is running at its working pace, that sequence is compressed. Each phase completes. It has to, or the heart would not function. But it completes in tight quarters, with the next signal already approaching before the last one has fully settled. As sleep deepens, the pace slows. And when the pace slows, each phase of the action potential has more room. The repolarization step, the return of the cell to its resting electrical state, the reset between one beat and the next, completes more fully. The cell does not have to begin the next contraction from a partial reset. It begins from a clean one. This matters in a way that is easy to miss. A cell that fires from a clean reset does so with better precision. The timing of the contraction is more exact. The coordination across the millions of cardiac muscle cells that all need to fire together, and they do need to fire together or the pump is inefficient, is tighter, not because the heart is working harder, but because each cell has had the time to come all the way home before being called again. Magnesium Max is here for this too, as he tends to be. The ion channels that conduct the repolarization step, the ones that move potassium back across the cell membrane to restore the resting charge, are among the many processes he supports. He does not direct them. He enables the enzymes that keep them operating cleanly, the way a well-maintained hinge swings truer than a dry one. Vagus Vic's contribution is the pace itself. His steady parasympathetic signal, arriving at Harvey's sinoatrial node through the long calm of deep sleep, holds the tempo low. And at low tempo, every downstream consequence of the action potential cascade, the repolarization, the reset, the mechanical contraction that follows, has the time it was designed to have. Harvey knows this, in whatever way a muscle knows anything. The nighttime signature feels like the right speed, not slow by accident, slow by design, by the conditions finally allowing the design to express itself. There is a subtler piece of this. The T-wave, the part of the cardiac electrical recording that reflects ventricular repolarization, meaning the recovery of the heart's lower chambers after each beat, shifts slightly in deep sleep. It is a small change, and a quiet one, visible only in careful recordings. What it reflects is the more complete electrical recovery happening in the lower chambers, the ventricles, the heart's two main pumping chambers that move blood to the lungs and to the rest of the body. During the day, those chambers recover quickly because they have to. The pump does not wait, but in the slow hours, they are given a fuller return to resting state. And a chamber that has fully recovered before being asked to contract again contracts more efficiently, not more forcefully, but more precisely, with less wasted effort in the pull. Precision is not the same thing as power. The daytime heart is powerful because it must be. The nighttime heart is precise because it finally can be. Two different expressions of the same muscle, each suited to what the body actually needs in that hour. Cortisol Carl is still quiet in the background, his absence meaning the systems that would otherwise run warm and ready are instead allowed to settle. The metabolic environment that surrounds Harvey's cells is calm. Not depleted, calm. The difference matters. A calm environment does not press for urgency. It allows each chemical step, each ion exchange, each electrical phase to proceed at its own designed speed. This is what the nighttime signature is made of. Not a slowing down that happens despite the body's needs, but a slowing down that is itself what the body needs. The cardiac action potential given room. The repolarization given time. The chambers given a full reset between calls. Harvey carries that signature through the deep hours. It is not his loudest work. It is his most careful. It did not make the rhythm simpler. It made it complete. This is the easiest part of the whole day. Nothing to carry, nothing to finish, only rest and the quiet dark. It made it complete. And now the night is very deep. Not the early dark, when sleep was still finding its footing. Not the middle hours, when the body was busy settling into its work. This is the late depth, the place where the clock on the wall means almost nothing, and the only time that matters is the slow, soft interval between one beat and the next. Harvey is still here. Of course he is. He is always here. But what he is doing now is quieter than almost anything he ever does. The pace has dropped to its gentlest. The pauses between beats, those small, precious stretches of release, have widened as far as they go. The muscle is not tense, it is not braced. It is doing the closest thing to resting that a heart is ever allowed to do. Vegas VIX signal is still running. Steady, unhurried, the long, slow line that says, you can ease now. You can take the extra moment. No one needs you to rush. Harvey has been receiving that signal for hours. And somewhere in the deep chambers of the muscle, something that might be described as relief has settled in. The coronary arteries, the small vessels that feed the heart its own supply of oxygen, have been filling generously through the night, doing the most complete version of their work in every widened pause between contractions. Not hurried, not compressed, generous. The calcium inside each muscle cell has been cycling cleanly. The electrical wave that triggers each beat has been completing its recovery before the next one begins. The conduction pathways from the top of the heart to the bottom have been passing each signal with a precision that the daytime pace rarely allows. Magnesium Max has been here through all of it, quietly supporting the pumps, holding the channels open at the right moment. Doing what he has always done, the work no one notices until it does not happen. And cortisol Carl is still absent, still sitting in the break room, still in his own punctual way, doing the most useful thing he can do at this hour, which is nothing at all. The breath is slow now, very slow. And Harvey's beat is following it, rising gently when the breath comes in, easing when it goes. The two of them, the breath and the heart, moving together in that old, quiet pattern. not synchronized by effort, just naturally aligned, the way they have always been, underneath all the noise of the day. Harvey knows this. He knows this depth. He has been here before, every night that sleep has come and stayed and deepened. He knows the feel of the pace dropping to its floor. He knows the feel of the pause between beats when it is long and open and unhurried. He knows this as the muscle knows it, not as a thought, but as a sensation, the same way a hand knows warmth. The body in the bed is very still now. The shoulders have dropped. The jaw has softened. The breath moves in and out with a patience that belongs entirely to sleep, not to waking. The limbs are heavy. Not uncomfortably heavy, just settled, the way things settle when they have finally been put down after a long carry. And in the center of the chest, Harvey keeps his gentle count. Not 100,000 beats per day, not the long arithmetic of a lifetime, just this beat. And then the pause. And then the next beat, arriving softly, the way it always does, because Harvey does not stop. He only slows. Slows to hear. To this pace, this spacious, unhurried, late-night pace that is the quietest version of everything he does. The rest of the body is coasting on what he provides, the slow, steady supply, the gentle circulation, the warmth distributed all the way to the surface of the skin. He does not need to be thanked for this. He has never needed to be thanked. But there is something fitting about a night like this. A night when the calming signal holds, when the long pause between beats is allowed to open fully, when the heart's own chemical and electrical machinery runs at the tempo it was built for. Fitting and quiet and earned. Harvey knows this dark. The beat continues, soft, slow, complete. Let the thoughts go where they want to go. You do not have to follow them. One drifts past, and then another, and then nothing at all. Slow, complete. And somewhere in the body that is lying still right now, Harvey keeps his rhythm. Unhurried, steady, the same work he has always done, only softer. This is the part of the night that belongs to him, not the waking hours, with their climbing stairs and sudden sounds and 10,000 small adjustments. Not the early edge of sleep, when the body is still settling. This is the deep part, the quiet floor, the lowest and easiest pace of any given day. Vic's signal is still running, long and steady, down that old familiar line. No noise on the cable now. No interruptions. just the clean parasympathetic hum, arriving at Harvey's node the same way it has all night, patient, unhurried, asking nothing more than a slower beat. Harvey receives it. He always does. The pauses between beats are long now, wider than anything the daytime allows. The diastolic moment, that small release, that small opening, stretches generously between each contraction. The coronary arteries do their quiet work inside it, delivering what Harvey's own muscle cells need, without compression, without haste. Max is here too. He has been here all along. The calcium pumps reset. The relaxation enzymes do what they do. The vessel walls stay soft. No credit asked. None expected. This is the shape of the work, at its most unhurried. And Carl is still in the break room. Quiet, hands folded, not yet needed. His return is hours away, timed, as it always is, with the kind of precision that only becomes visible when everything else goes still. For now he waits. He is good at that. Sitting with the lights low. The breath rises. The heart eases just slightly with it, falls. The heart holds that space open for a moment, then rises again. This is the old pattern, the breath and the beat, moving together in the rhythm they have always known, called into each other the way a slow tide moves with the pull of the moon. Respiratory sinus arrhythmia. That is the clinical name for it, but the name is not the thing. The thing is this: a heart and a breath, two rhythms in conversation, the oldest kind of coordination the body has. And it runs most cleanly here in the deep hours when there is nothing else competing for the signal. The upper chambers ease. The lower chambers follow. The conduction moves through each station, node to node, fiber to fiber, with room between each step. Every interval allowed to complete. Every electrical reset given its full measure of time. Harvey knows this hour. The core is cool now. The body redistributed its warmth hours ago, sending it toward the surface, opening up just enough space for the machinery to run with less compression. The calcium cycles more cleanly at this temperature. The ion channels close and open in their proper sequence. It is quiet biochemistry. Invisible and ordinary, and exactly what the body is meant to do in the dark. The oxygen coming in is more than enough. The mitochondria in Harvey's muscle cells, the small furnaces that keep the work going, are not pressed. Demand is low, supply is easy. The maintenance chemistry that gets crowded out during the busy hours now runs without competition. No urgency, no backlog, just the slow, steady renewal that cannot happen any other way. All of it, the widened pause, the clean calcium, the breath-tied rhythm, the cooled core, the easy supply, is happening at once. Not as a sequence of separate events, as one thing. As sleep doing what sleep does, and the heart receiving it. The action potential in Harvey's lower chambers repolarizes fully between each beat now. Each electrical wave rises, completes, and releases. The chamber walls reset. The next contraction waits for permission. And permission only comes when everything before it is finished. No rushing the sequence. No skipping a step. Harvey does not rush. He never has. But here in this depth at this hour, the slowness is not endurance. It is ease. There is a difference. He knows the difference. The muscle that has never stopped is coasting. Your shoulders are heavy against the bed. Your breath comes and goes without effort. The body is still. All that quiet work is happening beneath the stillness. A rhythm you do not need to think about, managed by systems that have been doing this since long before you had words for any of it. Harvey keeps his beat, soft, unhurried. This is the floor, the gentlest it gets, the pace that only the deep hours allow. Let it be quiet now. The night is deep now. Deep and still and very comfortable. There is nothing to do here, nothing to solve. You just need to be present in this quiet, in this dark. The pace that only the deep hours allow. Let it be quiet now, and so the night arrives at its last and softest place. No new work begins here. No new signal is required. Everything that needed to fall into order has fallen into order. Vic's steady line running clean, Max at his posts along the calcium pumps and the vessel walls. Carl sitting quietly in the break room with his hands folded, asking for nothing. The diastolic pause is wide. The breath and the beat move together, slow and synchronized, the way they were always meant to. The coronary vessels supply the muscle fully. The electrical sequence completes. Every part of the cycle is allowed to finish before the next one begins. Harvey coasts. That is the whole of it. The tireless muscle, the one that has never stopped, never called in sick, never once asked to be excused. That muscle is, at this hour, running at its gentlest. Not failing. Not slowing because something has gone wrong. Slowing because the conditions are finally right. Because the room is dark, and the body is still, and the calming half of the nervous system has had hours now to do its patient work. This is what rest looks like for a muscle that cannot clock out. Not stillness, not silence. Just the softest version of the same faithful work. The same contraction, the same release, the same quiet electrical wave traveling down from the node, through the chambers, out into the vessels, and back again. Slower now. More spacious, more like itself. Harvey knows this hour. He has earned every beat of it. Around 100,000 of them a day, day after day, without interruption, without complaint. And the reward, if a muscle can be said to receive one, is exactly this. The long, easy pause between contractions, the full reset. The coronary supply, arriving without compression, the chemistry completing at its own quiet pace. Let your breath be easy. Let the weight of the body settle into what is holding it. There is nothing left to do. The night has done its work. While you sleep, Heart Harvey is already at work. His pace is at its lowest and most gentle, the sinoatrial node firing with long, clean intervals, the diastolic pause wide enough for the coronary arteries to supply the cardiac muscle fully, the calcium cycling, and the electrical resets completing without compression. The beat-to-beat variation is spacious and wave-like, rising and falling with each breath in the old synchronized rhythm that is the heart's truest tempo. This is not the heart reduced. This is the heart restored, running at the tempo it was designed for, tended by the calming signal it has been waiting all day to receive. You don't have to do anything. Your body knows exactly what to do. It's been doing this work for your entire life, every single night. So let it, trust it. And as you drift deeper now, Heart Harvey will be here when you wake up. Quieter, calmer, better, sleep well.